protein content, the higher will be the protease content. Protease is the enzyme of digesting protein. The food that has a high starch, it will have a high amylase, starch digesting enzyme. The food that has high protein will have high protease, protein digesting enzymes. And foods that have high fat, like for instance seeds and nuts, high lipase. These are the elements of life, the enzymes. They are diminishing in our food supply because the enzymes are created by the full spectrum of minerals that create the profile of high protein, high fat. And the enzymes not only support your digestive functions that enable you to extrapolate your nutrients and breaking down the raw material into essential fatty acids, amino acids, and glucose. They also play the key role in immune system function, the police army of our body that surveys whatever is going on, and it keeps you safe in a toxic environment. You can talk to any medical doctor and they will tell you that if we could only keep the immune system strong, we can prevent, or if we could only jumpstart the immune system, we could prevent or overcome any form of disease. Raw foods have a high enzyme content, but they're meager in comparison to soaked seeds and nuts, and especially fermented foods like sauerkraut, kimchi. The kimchi, I make it out of sunflower and wheat. Now it's got a full spectrum of enzymes and your greatest ally, your bacteria. Every one of you here are 95%, especially the vegans, 95% of your genetic material is of non-human origin. You are just a bunch of bugs. Housing for bugs. You have over 20 times more friendly bacteria in your body than you do have cells in your body. And they serve such important functions endlessly. Not only do they feed you, it's say, me being fed by bacteria or the breatharians, where are they getting their aminos that are needed? Well, I quote in Survival. I didn't write that book. It was channeled. I mean, I put myself on the line, sometimes weeks, days and days without sleep, but also in a very mystical coherence. I was guided where to go, what to do, where to open what book, but it was the discipline of silence and stillness that brought on that clarity. Well, Oolong and Huxley, two nutritionists, ended up being in Papua New Guinea, and what they did was discovered a tribe of vegans that had very, very unusual healthy conditions, but also they were consuming less than 5 grams of protein per day. That is totally physiologically unacceptable. And what do? They didn't just say it's an animality. Instead, they studied. After spending many months with this Papua New Guinea tribe, they identified that the microbes on the fecal matter, gastrointestinal activity, were fixating the nitrogen from the air, because nitrogen is the signature nutrient element of protein. And it was manufacturing over 35 grams of protein per day. Source of protein. Microbes fixating nitrogen and creating protein. Now what is interesting, in the National Geographic's January 1973, they studied not only Vilcabamba that I mentioned earlier, all these youngsters in their hundreds having romances, but also the Hansas, the Georgians. They were all noted for very high density of long-lived individuals past 100 years of age. When they studied their lifestyles in terms of nutrient intake, they found that they consumed 35 grams or less of protein on a daily basis, 1,500 calories or less, as well as about 1/10 of the fat of what we consume in our culture. And their roughage was about 3 to 4 times higher, in some cases more, than what we consume in our civilization. Yet they were living into their hundreds. There's examples of mothering in their 80s. Well, in Genesis in the book of Generations, they talk about having children at the age of 300 and all. You'd say, oh, totally insane. Well, what is so totally insane? In the book of Jubilee, in Survival, that I quote, it's one of the sacred texts of the Essene ministry. They talk about, we are coming to a time when once again the children will study the laws and follow the commandments, and once again we will come to a time when there will be no sickness, no sadness, no disease, and no aging. All shall be like young children in their teens of prime perfection for thousands of years. Whatever length of time that is needed to complete your incarnation, your dharmic potential. Why you're here? You're here for more than just hanging out, doing time for another incarnation. Oh, I've done thousands of incarnations. Yes. But have you finally connected dharmically and move on in your cycle of change? Or instead, you were just small change instead of dealing with paradigm shifts? We are the generation. We are going to see so much. We have already seen so much. We are just around the corner, according to the mystical milestone called one line. On that great, crazy cartoon, I think it's called South Park. Yeah. South Park. They had finally made a breakthrough, Apple, where they hooked up, I don't know, 3 humans and created the human biocomputer. Kind of anus to lip. Pretty wild for a TV show. But that's kind of a metaphor for what is really happening. The human synchronicity, the at-one-ment is coming to more than the isolated mystics, the scientists who make breakthroughs all over the globe, who are all focusing on the same issue. Well, we're coming to a time when we will feel as one entity. It's not only feeling, but we will be so connected so that our data bank will be limitless. So that we will experience that creative divine symphony, and at the same time expressing our unique potential, why we're here, really serving one another. And a time is coming when there won't be any more competition. Cooperation sharing and daring, and the time of expanding the dreams into reality, accelerating the process instead of requiring ages. Things will start happening simultaneously. The transformation, when you see mystics materialize apples out of nowhere, or a golden ring, or whatever it might be, that is all within our human potential. Years ago, when I was doing time at university, studying theoretical mathematics, I also led a bohemian life. So there was many times when 2 months would go by before I decided maybe I should check in to see what's going on in the classes. And I had very strict parents, especially my mother. I did not want to ever fail her. She didn't have to use the whip on me. All she had to do was give me the look, and I just crumbled. Well, the idea of failure was never an acceptable part of my vocabulary.